If you're just tuning in, Al was shedding some light on retirement and retirement techniques that the successful are utilizing really to protect what they have in retirement, but really to make, help people make better decisions and be more comfortable doing that. And we have a lot of listeners that want to understand how those successful investors are creating income during retirement. Because once you were alluding to in the last segment, don't use your retirement dollars in retirement. Now, there's some different strategies that you can utilize for that. Let's talk about how the successful investors are creating income during their retirement years, so they don't have to get another job.
Well, when we're talking about income or extra cash, we're talking about utilizing something that is more short term. And again, by short term, maybe it's daily, weekly moves or monthly moves, not decade-long moves. And that means using something different than what most people are put into. It's what the institutions, what the successful are using, whether we're talking about companies like Goldman Sachs or individual traders, hedge fund managers. They're using something that gives them the opportunity to maybe take a profit, not in 10 years or 20 years, but in a day or 2 days or a month or so. And those are assets other than stock. It would be the futures, the Forex, the options. Those are all shorter term. It can be used for short-term trading opportunities. Options can be used long-term as well as short-term, and options can be used not only as a way of generating income off of a portfolio, for example, of stocks that maybe is your long-term portfolio, what you have in your retirement accounts. You don't have to sell something to actually profit from it. Options can be used as a way of profiting from what is there without actually exiting a position. Options can also be used to profit off of something that an investor doesn't own. And options can be used as protection, as basically an insurance policy on a portfolio.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, because we have a lot of listeners that probably are invested in stock, but they may want to keep those stocks.
Exactly.
Is there option strategies that the average person can utilize to collect cash flow off of that without selling that?
No, absolutely. And that's what the institutions are doing. That is a great way, as I mentioned before, don't lose it and don't use it. When I'm talking about don't using it, options are a great way to boost the returns of an existing portfolio without changing the portfolio. Both to profit as a way of making additional money off of it, but also a way of protecting what you have so you're not losing, so your portfolio isn't going down in value during these major corrections or bear markets that we see. And that's something that can be devastating to an individual when you retire and all of a sudden the market decides to drop 20, 30, 40, 50%. 57% like it did in 2008.
Yep.
And that's what happens when you retire. That's going to have a huge impact on basically the remainder of your retirement years. So having protection, but learning how to use what you have, because that's gone when you retire.
And that's why the successful are utilizing these other asset classes. You mentioned the futures in the Forex market. You can utilize those in IRAs?
You can, yes. The one thing you can't do in an IRA, which is what most of the big institutions and the pros do pretty much on a regular basis, is shorting a market or an asset.
But options is how you do that.
You do it with options, or you can sell a futures contract. You can sell a Forex contract. Those are all ways of participating in a market that's not going up. There are opportunities, there are strategies and assets to use for every market direction. And we know the market doesn't just go up, it goes down, and it goes sideways.
Yep. And just to clarify, shorting means, how the successful are utilizing positions and profiting in down markets.
Correct.
And if you want to learn more about how the successful are creating income during retirement, how they're using the futures market, the Forex market, especially the options market in their retirement accounts like their IRAs, we're talking about a lot of different things, and we're throwing a lot of things at people that are listening right now. I mean, people are listening all across the country right now. And they want to understand, how do I start? How do I start trading and investing? Because that's one of those things that is scary, but it's not scary. It's not new. It's just different.
Sure. It's
And
like anything else. When you don't know anything about something, there's a fear there. There's trepidation, and that's normal, and that should be the case.
yeah, and you've helped a lot of people become more comfortable and also confident taking that step. Now, let's talk about how you get started trading and investing, but also let's talk about the plan. You have to have a plan in your trading and investment strategy, because if you don't, it's just a hope.
Sure.
That's the key, is having that plan. So
Right.
let's talk about how to get started and also how to create that plan.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned plan, because that is an important part of having the opportunity to be successful. It doesn't mean you can't. I mean, there's some people that just go out and do things arbitrarily, and it's probably more luck than anything. But a plan should include a rules-based strategy, a step-by-step process that you follow. And if that is set up properly, it's going to give you the confidence and the comfort of knowing if you just follow those steps, the emotional impact is going to be removed from your trading. And that's what is probably the number one enemy of most people, their emotions. And as human beings, that's something that we are born with. And the only way that you can really control that in the financial world is to have a plan you follow, where you take the thinking out of it, you take the gut and the brain out of the investing process. And the key, we talk about a lot of things, and we only have an hour to do that with this show. And these classes that you're talking about, we expand on things a little bit, but we want to keep it as simple as possible, because it doesn't have to be confusing. There's so many things out there that people are bombarded with that really are we call it noise or fluff.
Well, that's the internet too. There's so much junk out there that it can be confusing.
Sure.
That's why, especially when you teach these investing classes, you break it down so people can understand it.
Right. Well, it's like you mentioned Kobe Bryant. It's like following the successful. There are people out there that have already gone through the trials and the errors. They know what works. They know what works on a consistent, reliable basis. And the key is a lot of the financial educational sources out there have you trading based on volume. So when there's excessive volume in something that causes the price to go up, that's when they tell you to get into a trade. Well, the real key to being successful is identifying not where the filled orders are, which is what happens when you have volume, but it's where the unfilled orders are that are going to come into the market. What if you could identify in advance where maybe millions of buy orders for a particular asset were located, or millions of shares of sell orders ready to come into the market, either as shorting or getting out of a position? If you knew where all those big orders were living, and you could identify with a high degree of accuracy where that was, it would give you a huge edge. That's what our strategy is designed to do. The institutions are not going to call you, send you a text message or an email saying, this is what we're going to do on Tuesday or Wednesday. But they have left, fortunately for us, clues in the market, clues basically on a price chart that tell us with a high degree of accuracy what's going to be happening, what they're thinking, what they're going to be doing. And that's what we talk about during these classes. Come in and we'll show you how that works, and you can decide for yourself whether you think this is something that will work for you, and whether it's something that you can do.
And I'm glad you brought that up. As far you're kind of breaking it down here on the show, is the big institutions, the big money, they're leaving us clues. And it's not a be right every time game, but if you can put the odds in your favor, it's a probabilities game.
Absolutely.
And that's where you get that special word that you said, is that edge. You have to have an edge in your trading and investment strategy. So, Al, it's getting close to the end of the show, and we still have a lot of listeners. We've had a lot of calls already about this investing class, but we have a lot of people that still want to get started and learn how to get started, learn how to create a plan in these financial markets, but also learn different techniques and strategies, learn what shorting means, how the successful are creating income, how the successful are protecting their retirements. Al, you've helped a lot of people get started trading and investing with some guidance and just that mentorship. And it all still comes down to, and all starts with these words of wisdom, because you have a few years of wisdom. Let's hear it today.
Oh, are you calling me old? Listen, it's simple. Direction determines destination. In other words, today's activities determines tomorrow's destination. And for many people, that means doing something different. For a lot of people, one of these free classes is that first step. Now is a fantastic time to get educated, to elevate your financial knowledge. Be proactive in these current market conditions. Watching what's happening isn't going to get anyone somewhere they haven't been and would like to be. You have to take action, but only if it's the proper action.
Yeah, and think about this. What you didn't do or start, that's now in the past. What you do today, now that can impact your future. Until next week with the Retire Young radio show, retire young, my friends.